Hello everybody and welcome to the video. This week we're looking at simple, easy ways to make homemade lava bases for your miniatures. I'm also going to do a big one for a dreadnought that I'm particularly pleased with, so stay tuned for that. Okay, first things first, no beating around the bush, grab any size base you like. I'm starting with 32mm ones because I'm going to be doing some Infernus Marines and they need some lovely lava bases. Then I grabbed some cork placemats that I got from any home decoration store, like in the UK, Dunelm, you can get IKEA, whatever. So I'm just using those, they're really cheap and easy to get and you can break them up into loads of different sized rocks. These are going to be what our minis are going to stand on because they can't put their feet into lava, that would hurt. I use super glue to stick these down, but you can equally use hot glue. Arguably hot glue is probably better. It's less stinky. Now I'm using some magic in a bottle from AK Interactive and this is just called Puddles. It's really cool for dioramas and it's meant to be put straight onto a finished diorama to create little pools of water. But what I'm using it for here is to build up some lava flow and to get rid of that texture on top of the base. It's quite runny, so do apply it very carefully initially and expect to get a little bit on your fingers. It does dry solid though, so after I pushed it around with a brush on a few of the bases to make sure it covered more or less evenly, I wasn't too worried about that. Lava does move after all. I left it aside to dry for a long time and I was left with this result. Slightly glossy, but a perfect foundation for painting. Now painting these bases is a really simple process, but it does take a little bit of time. I started by spraying them black with any black spray and then breaking out Mephiston Red, any bright red will do, and putting down my base coat. I didn't worry about too thin coats here, I went straight in with my next layer, which is Evil Sunz Scarlet, a more orangey red. Each layer you add, you want to make thinner and thinner and in a smaller area, so it looks like the glow is coming from the center of the largest pools of lava. You don't necessarily need to wait for all the paint to dry, you can just keep going and wet blend them together. I did the same thing with Wild Rider Red and then straight into Trollslayer Orange. This is already starting to create a nice effect, but as we add the brighter colours, in this case Averland Sunset followed by Flash Gitz Yellow, we're going to start to see things transform and really look nice, especially on camera, it looks good here. And when you're looking at an army from about a foot away, everything looks really bright and glowy, which is very cool. I then used a contrast paint, Iyanden Yellow, straight out the pot and glazed it all over the top of everything I've done to blend everything together even more. Once that was dry, I created a thin highlight with Ushabti bone, my final colour for this part of the lava, and made a nice bright central highlight all down the middle of the areas I've already painted. I followed that up with a quick edge highlight around the cork with Dawnstone. You can use any colour you like here, I think purple rocks would also be very cool on something like this. With the base room tidied up, this is what we're looking at, some really nice bright bases for, let's be honest, salamanders. Salamanders love lava, so I gave these bases to some salamanders. We'll see more of the minis later because I'm quite pleased with them. Now onto the base that was really good fun. Using a 100mm base for a Redemptor Dreadnought and some hot glue, I created the same lava flow rocks that we created on the 32mm bases. I had to make sure that there was enough room for the big stompy feet to stand on, so I recommend if your model's already built, test it out before doing this. Now for this one I went a slightly different route. Instead of using my entire tube of puddles, I used some more AK effects. In this case, some water effects straight out of a tub. I'm pretty sure it's something to do with the Atlantic, but the colour and style really doesn't matter because we're going to be painting over it. I'll link it in the description if you want to know. Likewise, also down in the description is my Element Games affiliate link if you want to pick up any of the paints or products I've been using today. Now I wanted to create a little bit of a lava splash effect, some lava hitting the rocks quite hard and splashing into all different directions, so I tried something new. Using my hot glue gun to drag out some splash looking shapes onto some greaseproof paper, I thought this would help me peel them off. This is a sheet that you get with some transfers and it's probably not quite right for this job. If you use some actual baking paper or greaseproof paper, it will probably work better, but for this, it actually worked alright, I just can't necessarily recommend the exact method I used. Whilst the water effects were still drying on the base, I used those to form these weird strips I created into a shape. This entire process was entirely flying by the seat of my pants, so I again can't recommend to follow it exactly, but hopefully this will inspire you to do something similar. I then used my Puddles effect to help seal these into the base, but again I can't really recommend this step. The next thing I do, which is using Mod Podge from a squeezy bottle, is probably the better shout. And what I do at the end with some Green Stuff World resin is definitely the way to go. Basically, in this part of the hobby process, I'm just chucking stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. As it is, I just recommend skipping the Puddles step. Everything else worked out fairly well. We're going to skip the painting because it's exactly the same as what we did on the other bases, but there you go. Now we're going to do something slightly different using Citadel's Mordant Earth texture paste. This is a crackle paint, and I'm just going to apply it in a few areas around the lava to create little mini lava flows. In bodies of lava this big, you're going to see these little molten bits of slag floating around. It also adds just a little bit more detail to our very cartoony base. Overall, I'm quite pleased with the effect, and I'll definitely be doing this more on my larger bases going forward. Maybe not worth doing it on the smaller bases, as it'll obscure a lot of detail. And now for my favourite step that I did after the dreadnought was attached. Wouldn't recommend that, do it beforehand, but I used some UV resin from Green Stuff World in conjunction with a UV torch to create some more texture and a glossy effect on top of these lava bits here, and this is what sold the effect. Once I'd applied the resin, I made sure to turn the model upside down to allow it to start to drip naturally, and then I quickly shined the torch on it because this stuff dries quickly, so I essentially got the water mid-flow. I called it water, it's meant to be lava, and it's definitely not water, it's resin. Yep. Just as a pointed note, in the showcase where I show off what the bases look like, I've also shown off what my minis look like because I painted them specially for this, and I'm really pleased with how the green turned out, so let me know what you think. And that'll be another video for this week. To everyone who's seen my most recent community post at the time of posting, thank you for your kind words and reaching out. I had a bit of hobby burnout and I'm still working through it, but this video was already half done, so I thought you guys deserved it. As always, I've been Sam. See you next time.